Morning, Kathy Helbig.
Good morning, everybody.
What are we talking about this morning?
Well, we're talking about seeing some of these headlines are starting to pop up of like sellers are starting to freak out. The market is shifting. Mortgage applications are at the all-time low. That type of headlines are what we're seeing. In our market in St. Louis, we are feeling a little bit of that shift, but we are still seeing a lot of activity in the normal pockets. We are starting to see some price reductions. I just did a little research this morning. We have this is again just a snapshot of the local St. Louis, St. Charles-ish market. We have 486 new listings on the market this week, and last week we had 236 price reductions.
Wow.
So that's almost half.
Yeah.
If you look at those numbers. And then the national headlines are 1 in 5 sellers are slashing their price to, at the last 3 weeks in the market. So we are seeing a little bit of a change. We are seeing a pocket, but then there are still many, many listings that are getting multiple offers if they're done right and they look good. We're getting back to starting to have sellers do a little more prep work on the house. I had to have somebody, do paint their entire house where maybe 2 months ago we wouldn't even thought about it. So, things are starting to shift just a little bit, but we're still seeing pretty good activity because of those low numbers. I mean, 436 new listings this week going into June compared to two Junes ago, is 1/3 the amount of inventory that we're bringing on in June that we had 2 years ago.
So still low inventory.
Low inventory.
When you talk about bubbles and this and that, it's all. I mean, it's house to house, street to street, neighborhood to neighborhood, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. You're reading and you're hearing national headlines. And there are, we have partners in other parts of the country. There are other parts of the country that are feeling a much more significant slowdown or, a little bit of a lot more price reductions than what we're seeing. So you got to weigh that out when you're seeing the national articles. Don't hit the panic button. We are having some sellers going, I missed the boat. And you know what? I look at it this way. You may or may not miss the boat. Like, nobody can time this perfectly. You might miss the boat on getting your absolute top dollar, but you're still getting top dollar. It's like the interest rates being, oh my gosh, they're 5.5% or whatever they get you. They're still relatively low, so nobody's really missing the boat. It's not the bubble of 2008. Everything's not going to go backwards overnight. So it's still not a terrible time to buy or sell a house at this point.
It's also it's also relative because depending how you price your house, right? Do you price it for a bidding war or do you price it for not a bidding war? So that sort of plays into it as well.
And that's why when you look at those price reductions, when they're saying 1 in 5 people are reducing their houses, you got to dig deeper and go, well, where did they start? Did they start too high, or are they reducing the house prices because the market's sliding backwards? That's the real key. And that's what I'm seeing more in our area, is that it's not really price reductions because we're the bottom's falling out. It's because sellers just kept pricing at the trajectory that we were at and then overshooting the target a lot of times. So then, yes, you are going to see a reduction, especially when the rates went up. It took a few people to the sidelines, but you can't keep pricing at the escalation that we've been at when things start to soften just a little bit. And that's the real truth behind some of these price reductions, not because the market's sliding backwards.
What are you telling buyers who are sort of, and you've mentioned this before, are sort of frustrated, don't want to make an offer because they don't want to play the escalation game and they don't want to get their hopes up and then lose the house? What are you telling those buyers?
Well, I tell them to get back into the game because what we're starting to see, even though we still have multiple offers on a lot of our property, we did have a few that didn't sell the first weekend. We have had a lot more of our offers that are coming in start to have some of the normal contingencies slide back in. A lot more inspection clauses are back in play, just like they normally were 2 years ago. We still see a few people. I've been surprised. I've still seen a couple of sight unseen purchases lately. So we've had people coming in from out of town, never laid eyes on the house, closed on the house. So we haven't gone away from that. But we have noticed appraisal writers are creeping back in and inspections are back in.
Yeah.
So if you think you're getting an as-is, somebody might say, seller, buyer to purchase house as is condition and seller to make no repairs, but then they don't take out all that language in the contract, that's becoming a little bit problematic because the buyers still have language in there that say they can come back even though they told you up front it's as is. They're going to come back and try to hit you with something. So you need to make sure the language that's in your offers. Yeah.
The other thing about the escalation and the market itself, it's okay. Houses aren't going up 20% every month. They're going up 2 to 3% every month. And you think you missed the market. So it's just going up slower than it was before. So you didn't miss anything. It's just not going up exponentially.
Couldn't have said it better than myself.
Well, there you go. Kathy Helbig, 314-276-SOLD. 314-276-SOLD and KathyHelbigGroup.com. Again, 1,000 thank yous for everything you did for me. We're in the middle of this, and we're starting the process for buying. Yeah. So
good news for you. Lumber keeps coming down.
I will have the lumber futures on my phone every day. I get an update. So,
all right. Awesome.
Kathy, be good. Thanks for checking in.
Bye, Kathy.
Good stuff.
Thanks, guys.
You got
Take
it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Wonderful. Just absolutely wonderful from start to finish.
They are the best.
Couldn't ask for a better experience. And I keep hearing these real estate companies, I've got the buyers. You're selling, we're sticking to the buyers. Well, the buyers don't like to hear that. I stick it to the sellers. Well, you know what? I don't want you to stick it to anybody. I just want you to make sure I'm taken care of. Because I went from a buyer to a seller. And everyone's a buyer and a seller. So I want a real estate agent who will look out for me, not necessarily one or the other. So that's why Kathy Helbig is my secret weapon, not so secret anymore. 314-276-SOLD, 314-276-SOLD, or KathyHelbigGroup.com.